Have you ever noticed this? When a deadline is weeks away, it feels impossible to even start. But then, as the clock ticks down to the final hours, suddenly, you're a machine. You're focused, you're efficient, you're unstoppable. Why does it feel so much easier to put in the effort at the very last minute? Let's break down the psychology behind this and make it easy to understand. When a deadline gets really close, your brain completely switches gears. All that time you spent overthinking, debating, and wondering where to begin, it's gone. There's no more room to delay. This urgency simplifies everything. The question in your mind is no longer, should I start now? Instead, immediately becomes, what is the absolute first thing I must do to get this done? It's a powerful mental shift from hesitation to action. Another huge factor is that last-minute effort is often powered by a very potent emotion, fear. The fear of failure, the fear of negative consequences, or even just the fear of looking bad in front of others. This fear acts like a switch, turning up your alertness and flooding your system with energy. Your brain releases stress hormones, like adrenaline and cortisol, that give you a temporary but intense boost in focus. Now, this isn't a healthy long-term strategy, but in that short burst, it definitely works to get you moving. Think about it this way. When time is almost gone, your options become incredibly clear. You no longer have the luxury to try and make things perfect. Your goal shifts from doing it perfectly to simply getting it done. Having fewer choices actually reduces the mental load. You're not wrestling with a dozen different ways to approach the task. You're just executing the most direct path to completion. Less choice means less mental conflict, and that makes taking action so much easier. We often make the mistake of waiting for motivation to strike before we start working. But the truth is, motivation usually follows pressure, not the other way around. A looming deadline creates that pressure. The pressure forces you to take action, even if it's small. And that initial action creates momentum, which then builds into real, sustainable motivation. It's a cycle. Pressure leads to action, and action leads to momentum. Now, here's a really important reality check. Just because this last-minute scramble works doesn't mean it's the best way to operate. It dramatically increases stress, which is bad for your health. Over time, it can also lead to lower quality work. And most importantly, it trains your brain to become dependent on panic just to get things done. You essentially teach yourself that you can only be productive when you're in a state of crisis. So, what's a smarter alternative? Instead of waiting for the final deadline to create urgency, you can create it yourself in a healthier way. Set your own shorter deadlines for smaller parts of the project. Break down big tasks into manageable, bite-sized pieces. Give yourself clear time limits for each piece. This strategy gives you the focus-boosting benefits of urgency, but without the overwhelming panic and stress. Ultimately, that last-minute push feels easier because the intense urgency strips away all hesitation and forces you to just act. Once you understand this mechanism, you can learn to use urgency as a tool, consciously and wisely, without letting stress take control of your life. That's how you can make your workflow and your learning feel easier all the time. Thanks for watching, and if you found this helpful, be sure to follow for more.